Okay, so what we're doing in this module is we're talking about 6 mistakes to avoid on your resume, or more specifically, we're actually going to talk about 5 of the 6 mistakes. The last mistake, applicant tracking systems and scannable resumes and keywords and all that, will be the next module. So we're going to talk about the 5. Let's get right into it. Mistake number 1 to avoid is don't screw up. Don't mess up the basics. Don't do something on your resume that's going to cause someone to read it and throw it away because there's something wrong with it before they even really read your resume. Okay, so the first mistake to talk about, and it's one that I know a lot of people hate, but it's critically important, is don't make spelling and grammar errors. All right. Now, I hear this all the time from people, and I get the point, which is, you know what? I'm just pointing a camera. I'm just driving a truck. I'm just fixing stuff. All right. Why exactly does it matter whether or not I use the right "your" on my resume or I misspell a word or two or something like that? And on the one hand, I do understand that. But on the other hand, I left an article for you to read in the resources for this week, and I think it's a great article talking about someone, and he's talking about why he won't hire people who make mistakes. And it's a really good point that I hope you understand. And that is that his only interaction with you is by this 8.5 by 11 sheet of paper that you're giving him. And if he looks at it and he sees spelling errors or grammar errors in there, what you're announcing to him, whether you mean to or not, is you're saying, I'm the type of person that isn't going to do a good job and will not do the job that you expect of me. Well, at that point in time, why should he hire you? If you won't do a good job on the single most important piece of paper that you have, why would you do a good job on other things? So I understand the complaint, but you need to understand the other side. Also, another thing to be aware of, quite frequently the person reading your resume is not the manager, is not even someone in your industry. It's someone like you see here in HR, 22, 24 years old, fresh graduate out of the UW or something like that. And the fact is, they don't know the industry that well. They don't know what it takes to do the job. So if they're reading your resume, they're looking for stuff like spelling and grammar errors because that's the only thing that they studied to a large extent. Okay? So we've got to make sure that we do a good job on it. In fact, I would go even farther. I'm going to go ahead and say it needs to be perfect. Now, I realize there's probably one person out there going, yay, I get a chance to show off my grammar skills. And the rest of you are rolling your eyes or groaning or something like that. Let me talk to you, especially if you're the person who says, you know what, I'm horrible at grammar and spelling. I hate the stuff. I never was good at it in school. How am I supposed to get this right? Well, my honest answer to you is bribe someone. Okay, and I don't mean slip someone $100, although you're more than welcome to try that technique. What I mean is find someone who's good at this. Maybe it's a spouse, a relative, a neighbor, a classmate, but find someone who's good at this and then simply do something in return for them. Say, hey, if you'll read my resume and do a good job, fix the grammar on it, the spelling error, stuff like that, I will, mow your lawn. I'll babysit your kids so you can have a date night. I will make dinner and do the dishes afterwards. I'll bring my wife's 5-layer casserole to class, whatever it is. But do something. Basically, what you're doing is telling the person, I respect the fact that you are doing this for me, and here's something that I can do in return for you. So very basic, but honestly, they tend to do a much better job if there is some sort of reward attached to it. So, perfect grammar. Also, no I anywhere in a resume. No I and no form of it like me, my, mine, anything like that. In your resume, you start off with the power of verbs. And there's an assumed I. What I mean by that is instead of saying I managed a group of 10, you simply start off with managed a group of 10 people. Or instead of saying I fixed and did repairs on a fleet of cars, start again right with fixed and did repairs on a fleet of cars. So get rid of the I if you have any I's in your resume. Okay. What tense should it be? For the most part, your entire resume should be past tense because it's happened in the past. The only place that it might not be past tense is if you're currently employed, and there's an argument over this. It's not that important, don't worry about it, but some people say your current job should be present tense to signify that you're currently employed. Other people, and I happen to be one of them, say write your current job in past tense because technically it has already occurred, and this way your entire resume is in the same tense. My honest advice to you, flip a coin, take 10 seconds, whatever, pick one, and then do it that way. There's other things to be spending your time and effort on than worrying about that. All right, and then the last part of grammar is word usage. Don't try and speak in resume speak. I see this all the time where people try and write the way that they think and using language that's not comfortable to them. Don't do this. Most of the people reading your resume would prefer that it's written in clean, simple, easy to understand English. If you try and write in grammar speak or something like that, usually you make one of two mistakes, or both. One is it's going to sound a little bit awkward, it's going to sound a little bit weird. The person reading it is going to go, yeah, that's not quite right, okay? And the other thing to be aware of is a lot of times if you're trying to speak in resume speak, you start using words not quite right or even using the wrong word. One of the best examples of this was I had a boss who was trying to say that the department, her department, should be emulated, starting with an E, and that means that our department should be copied, imitated. We're doing a good job, and everybody should try and do a good job just like we're doing. She didn't know the word, didn't know how to spell it, used spell check, and it ended up fixing it, starting with an I instead of an E, and she sent out an email to the entire college saying that her department should be immolated, meaning set on fire in a funeral ceremony. So please don't do that. Make sure you're using words and language that you feel comfortable with. All right, the most common question I get whenever I do this class is, and we've talked about it already, how long should it be? And the answer is, it depends. Sorry if you're looking for a better answer, but that is the right answer. Let's talk about the two extremes, okay? First of all, if you're 18, 19, 20 years old, you have a year or two of college under your belt, and your previous experience is, fast food or cashier, delivering papers, mowing lawns, stuff like that, that's fine. Okay? You're going to write a one-page resume, and you're going to do a good job, and it's going to look thorough, and you're going to do a great job of it, and you'll move on. Good job. Okay? On the other hand, if you're someone with 20, 25 years work experience, or you've retired from the military and you're starting a second career or something like that, you'd better be a lot more than one page, because hopefully you've got a lot of stuff that you want to get across in that resume. So the answer is your resume needs to be long enough to accurately and concisely express your history. And I can't tell you whether that should be 1 or 2 pages. You kind of have to decide that. 2 quick points on that before we go on. If you're going to do 2 pages, first, do put a footer on the bottom, just something very simple like Tim Trussler, resume, page 1 of 2, because sometimes the pages get separated. You want to make sure that whoever's reading this is aware that they should have 2 pages in their hand. The other thing is, please don't do the thing where your resume is 1 page and 2 lines on the second page, something like that. If that's happening, either beef it up to make it longer or delete a line or 2 in order to get it to fit on 1 page. You don't want those 1 or 2 lines dangling on the next page. All right, next up, don't use jargon. And the fact is, every industry has this. I work in education, we have jargon that we use. The military has jargon that they use. Computers, anyone in the computer industry, technology has jargon that they use. Healthcare, any industry has jargon. It has acronyms, it has abbreviations, it has terms, it has processes that they use, it has tools, all of this sort of stuff. Be aware, the person reading your resume, again, very well might be an HR person. Don't overwhelm them with acronyms and abbreviations and terminology where they have no idea what it is that you're saying. My recommendation to you is find someone not in the field, have them read your resume, and if they stare at you blankly or say, what does this here mean? Then guess what? It's probably time to rewrite that part of the resume so that a normal person reading it who's not in the industry understands what it is you're saying. Okay, a few other quick minor points. Number 1, make sure you follow the application instructions. This seems obvious, but I see this happen sometimes. They ask for a PDF, send them a PDF. They tell you to send it someplace. Don't decide that you'd rather send it to HR instead. Follow the instructions. One that I see people do occasionally is, you'll have all these boxes that they want you to fill out. You have to do an online application, and a person will just type in every box, see attached resume. Okay, so don't do things like that. The fact is, it's their process. If they tell you in order to apply, you need to jump up and down on 1 foot while singing Ave Maria, then guess what? Start hopping and start singing, all right? Don't include any irrelevant information, okay? I'm very happy for you that you have Western Washington's largest collection of Star Wars Lego figurines. That shouldn't end up on your resume, okay? Also, don't put any disqualifying information in there. And what I mean by this, and again, it's a little bit of an awkward conversation, but I should not be able to figure stuff out about you, personal information, by reading your resume. I shouldn't know if you have kids or how many kids you have. I shouldn't know your race. I shouldn't know your sexual orientation, your politics, your religion, anything like that. Because here's the thing, All right. If I read this and I see that in there, first of all, it's a little bit unprofessional. It's viewed that way. And second, most HR people won't admit this out loud, but what they're thinking is if you're identifying this way, if you end up not working out, you're a lawsuit or an EEOC claim waiting to happen. So it's much easier to just take your resume, drop it into the bin, and move on to the next one there. Okay? So sorry if that offended anyone, but that is in fact the way that it works. All right. So that wraps it up for this. Our mistake one, we're going to stop, give you an opportunity to go fix stuff, fine-tune stuff, improve stuff, do what you need to do. When you're done with that, we'll move on to mistake number two, ugly resumes.